Welcome to the module SU001 of Orocon's Upskill Modular Training Program devoted to Revit and BIM. This module is titled Loading Diagrams 2D and 3D and is brought to you on behalf of Orocon by A2K Technologies. We will be using the purchased materials supplied by Orocon and A2K Technologies. Classroom notes and handouts are available for note-taking through the Exemplar portal. Throughout the training today, we will be covering the following topics: initial setup, 2D loading diagram, field region, 3D loading diagram, ceilings, analytical loading diagrams including area load, line load, and hosted load. Initial setup. Let's first open the structural model detached from central. And preserve work sets for future use. Once the model is open, save the project away with your initials. Just navigate to the default 3D view just to determine what model we're starting with. "2D loading diagrams, field region." Duplicate and detail O2 floor. Let's right click on the browser, duplicate view, duplicate with detail. Once duplicated, we'll be creating a new sort list. Also, we wish to rename this. This will be O2 floor loading. Changing the view sort. And loading. At this point here, we're just going to turn off a few of the tags just to make this a little cleaner and clearer. That's visual graphic overrides. Up the annotation tab. Scrolling down to structural foundation and structural framing tags. Just navigating in towards grid G and H and 1 and 1.1. This will be our first loading diagram. To create the 2D version using field regions, annotate tab, across the region, dropping down field region, in the properties type selector, just below that edit type, we're going to create a new type. We'll duplicate the current, and we'll call this loading 1. We'll be making the color red, background transparent so we can see through and see our structure, and our fill pattern we'll be using diagonal up. And now just creating a shape, we'll work on just rectangular and using a line style of invisible lines. complete. Green tick for finish. Interrogating our field region, when selecting this, as you can see in the properties area, in the grayed out area, there is area of 52,874 metres square. To be able to create a schedule and display this on drawing sheets, we need to be able to duplicate this value and place it into a separate parameter. In this instance we'll be using the mark parameter. So just repeating the value 52.874. Now to create a schedule, in the browser left hand side, right clicking on schedule and quantities, creating a new schedule quantity, field regions are classed as detail items. If we're scrolling down, finding detail item schedule. At this point here we can add mark, also add comments for later use. We'll also be adding type, also type comments. Just placing an order of type first, the mark, which is the area, type comments and comments. And we get the following result. Being a detail item schedule, this will also pick up any other detail items. So we'll need to come back and adjust a few things. Just closing the schedule, selecting our field region. At this point here we'll be going edit type, just modifying a few additional parameters. Under the type comments we will call this one type KPA. Live load. Coming back to the schedule. As you can see in the schedule now, the type comments has been filled out. Using the filter option inside schedules, under the filter, filter by type comments. If we're just quickly doing equals, we can see the words 5 kPa live load. If this varies in any way but the word load is a common words, we can actually use the word contains. So just recapping, that's the filtering, and using type comments contains the word load. So we're only now left with just the detail items, which is the field region of loads. Just adjusting the schedule to be more applicable to the situation rather than type and mark. We're going up to now formatting tab. Rather than type, we can use a heading loading type. In this case here, mark, we can be using area. Type comments, we could be using load, and we'll just leave comments as comments. Just closing the schedule. In addition to schedules, to be able to display some information on plan, i.e. tags, will also be quite beneficial. So first of all we need to load in a tag. Insert tab, Load Family, selecting the 2D tag loading family. Now to place the tag, Annotation tab. Across to the right, Tag by Category. In this instance, we'll drop off the leader. You'll be able to hover over, instantly it's picked up. Looking down the bottom left, it's picked up the detail item, the field region, and place the tag. Please note, being 2D elements, this will not display in Navisworks or other viewing programs. Once completed the loading diagrams on plans, we need to create a matching legend view. To create a legend view, under the View tab, across to Legends, dropping down to Legend, setting this to be scale 1:1, so it's ready to go on a sheet, giving this appropriate name. Now just replicating, drawing ourselves a new field region, knowing this is 1:1 scale, using loading 1 invisible, drawing ourselves an approximate size about 50 by 25, placing also your tag, Annotate, Tag by Categories, placing some heading text above, just as text, just loading legend, you may need to adjust the size accordingly. Repeating the process for any other 2D loading tags. And just ensuring this is actually live data, if we just quickly select our field region loading 1 and edit and change this to be 7 kPa, it's changed here in the legend view, ready for the drawing sheet. We'll just double check the schedule. It's changed there in the schedule as well. And also double checking our plan. So this is now all ready to be placed on an A4 sheet. That concludes 2D loading diagrams. 3D loading diagrams, ceiling. Before creating a 3D loading diagram using the ceiling command, first of all we need to set up a work set, so our ceiling will be placed within its own work set. To create that, down the bottom near work sets, selecting the button, and creating a new work set. This work set will be called loading. We want to make not visible in all views. Once created, pressing OK, and yes, we want this to be the active work set. So for now, whatever we're modelling will be on the work set loading. Now, to ensure this is displayed where we said this is where we unticked and not visible, Visual Graphics Override, coming up to work sets, coming across where it says global settings not visible, In this case here, for this view, we want to be visible and show. Now up towards the architectural tab, across to ceiling, creating a new type, edit type, duplicate the current, and this one will be called loading 1. Presetting a material is often a good option, which helps in colours and looking at 3D. So in this case here, we'll create a new material. So let's just start with an existing. Right click and duplicate, and renaming this just to be underscored to be at the top of the list. Loading 1. We'll look at a surface pattern. Let's just do, say, a brickwork hatch. Let's change the colour. Let's use a pink. Also setting a shading colour using a pink, and even transparency to about 10%. Or 20. And OK. And OK. This point here, up towards top right, we would now want to sketch the ceiling. Again, in our sketch dialog box, just drawing ourselves a zone. Green tick for finish. At this point here, if you can't see anything, you need to now actively go and check your visual graphics overrides to ensure ceilings have been turned on. In this case here, they have not been turned on. Okay, just checking with shades, any colours turning up. Okay, so at the moment it's still not turning up, so we need to just quickly cut a section through this. A building section. Opening the section. Visual graphic overrides. First of all, ensure work sets is on. And also ceilings have been turned on. So the reason why this did not show is due to its positioning, height above level. If we change this back to around 100 or 200 mil, so it comes back down, coming back to our plan, all of a sudden it will display. So this has all got to do with the view range. Okay, just changing back to hidden lines, just selecting our ceiling, looking in the properties. Currently it's telling us automatically an error area at this point here. We'll also go and fill out type comments, similar to the way we did the 2D loading. 5. Okay, live load. Again, similar to the 2D version, we want to now add a tag. So loading in a tag, for the ceiling, insert load family, loading the ceiling tag. Now placing the tag, annotate tab, tag by category, selecting our ceiling. It's telling us under visual graphics, ceiling tags is not turned on. Back in annotation categories, ceiling tags, and there's our loading tag. Again, similar to the 2D schedule, we will now create a ceiling schedule. Right clicking browser, schedules, new schedule and quantities, coming down to ceilings. In this case here, we're going to add type, area, type comments, and even the level where it's occurred, and OK. So as you can see, this is now live dynamic information. And just to prove that, having the schedule and the floor plan open, just selecting our ceiling, edit the boundary, just increasing the size of our loading area, and now you'll see the area update from 71 to 105. Adjust the headings as per the 2D option. So type will be called load type. Area is area. Type comments is called load. And the level is level. Just using this section where we've used, moving this back, including a little bit past where the ceiling is. So this is currently section 1. Just opening up the section, just altering our view crops. Okay, and now opening our default 3D view, and opening up a 3D view of this section. Just visual graphics, ensuring work sets are turned on. Going to shade, ensuring also now ceilings are turned on. So in the 3D view, it's nice and clear now where our loading area is. And again, as per previous samples, if saving this view, this one's called section 1, changing its view sort once it's saved. And tagging this. Again, just ensuring our tags are on. And knowing now you can see this in 3D, this will be displayed in Navisworks. And the final requirement is to create a matching legend. So to do this, because it's a live active component, we need to, off our plan view, is create a call out. Under the view tab, doing ourselves a call out. Certain size. Okay, this call out, just ensuring it's all sitting in the loading area, which it is. Going to now this call out. We can now tag this call out. Just ensuring ceiling tags are actually on, which they are. Sometimes your tags are looking for the center of the component. So when you've got a dragging your view crops back in, you also need to adjust the annotation crop, as you can see here. So selecting my tag, I can now move this in. This concludes 3D loading diagrams using ceilings. Analytical loading diagrams. Area load. Revit structure has the ability to actually apply a real load that can be used for future users. Up in the tabs there is the Analyze and Loads. Much of this will be covered in module SU002. First of all, let's create a work set as per steps above in preparation for loading. So at the moment we use the same work set called loading. Working in the area between grids 7 and 8 and I and J. Under the Analyze tab, across to Loads, first of all we'll be working with Area Load, which places a load on a sketched area. Let's create a new type, Edit Type, and duplicate, and Loading 1. At this point here, let's change the force arrows. This is just a visual representation. Let's changing this down to the open 90 degree 1.25 mil. Let's also change the area force to be 0.5 and distance between the arrows of 10 mil. Back in the instance properties, we're going to change the FZ1 value to be 3. This value here has a correlation between the actual length of the arrows, which you will see in 3D. So once we've got those settings set, Now we just need to create our shape. So creating just a rectangle area. And green tick for finish. Again, if nothing's turning up, we need to go to Visual Graphic Overrides. Just turning on Analytical Model and pressing OK. And now we can actually see our area loads turning up. So just recapping, that's Visual Graphic Overrides, Analytical Model Categories, it's down under Structural Loads, and here is the area loads. So in this case here, I might even just turn off the extra. Just leaving loads on. Going back to the 3D view, I'll just quickly open up the 3D view, and here we are back here. So just understanding FZ1, how it is currently positive 3. If I change this now to a -3, as you can see, minus being loads down, positive loads up. And just recapping with these values, changing this value here is a factoring, area force scale, and the distance between the arrows, changing this to 20, we'll space the gaps out as it's in the category of graphics. With the area load selected, looking in the properties dialog box, we've got description and comments which we can use. So under comments, we might be using this one called live load. And the description, this may be called compactus area. Once these are filled out, we can now go and create a new schedule. New schedule and quantities. Down to structural loads, selecting area load. Adding the following FZ1, an area. They shall count so we know how many of. The comments, description. And at the moment, as you can see, there is no level parameter. So to determine that that is actually on level 2, we may need to create a new running parameter. So let's just go add a parameter. We'll call this one loading level. We'll just make this text based. Place this in a category that's applicable. So we might use structural analysis. And OK. And OK. And just moving this down so we can see the entire schedule. As we can now see the new parameter. So this one occurs on O2 floor. And that concludes area loads. Line load. Besides area load, there's also the option of line load. This works a very similar way. Up under Analyze, Loads, and across to line load. We'll use, at the moment, we'll just duplicate this and call this loading 2. Again, changing our arrowheads. Distance between arrows, we'll leave this to be consistent as 10 and 0.5. Now applying this load. Just selecting, ensuring FZ1, again to be consistent we'll use this as -3. Going back to now the 3D view, just extending our section box. As you can see. So this is very handy for wheel track loads and nominated line loads. Now both with area and line loads, these can both be tagged. So first of all we need to load in a tag. So that's insert, load tag, so that's both area load tag and line load tag. Because the view has been locked, we can now apply this, so annotate tab, tag by category. First of all we might use this as a leader option for our area load. Then we might use this one as the line load. Okay, so obviously a few more parameters need to be filled out as per the area, so it's just selecting our line load. Filling out the description. Line load. Comments. Live load. A few more parameters get filled out. And again, a schedule can be created similar to the area load. As a final procedure with these loads and visually, as you can see at the moment everything is black in colour. We can change these colours globally. So we just need to quickly go visual graphics and filters and create a new filter. In this case here, let's call this loads. Scrolling down our list to where we've got structural loads, branching out, area and line, and point if we were using point. At the moment we've got a work set called loading, so we'll use work set equal to loading and OK, and adding this, and that's changing the colour, which is projection lines, just changing the colour to something not used, and OK. And even applying this same filter on plan. So if this was creating a quick view template, so right click, creating view template from view, and we'll call this loading colours. Just deselecting, and the only option we've got in here is the filters. OK. And now on plan, applying the view template, selecting all, loading colours, which is just the filters, and pressing OK. And now we have matching colours. That concludes line loads. Hosted loads. Our third option for loads is hosted loads. In the analyze loads, we have options here which are hosted line, area, points. Now these will actually hold the host of the element that you've selected. For example, we'll work on area hosted and we'll be able to pick a structural floor. First of all, we need to duplicate our level 3. So just going to our browser, locating level 3, just duplicate, changing its view sort to be loading, O3 floor loading, opening up level 3. Okay, so we've got level 3 already. For hosted loads to work, in this case hosted to a floor, we need to ensure the analytical of the floor has been turned on. Visual graphic overrides analytical model. In this case here we're using analytical floor. And of course our loads cases have been turned on. So loads and analyze loads area, as it's telling us, pick slab or straight wall segment. So if I'm now just picking the slab edge, which is the floor, and just remembering if your loads aren't displaying, visual graphic overrides, we are working work sets, just ensuring your work set's on. And as you can see, it's now taking the entire host of all the analytical of the floor. Just going to a 3D view of O3 floor loading. Let's open the default 3D view. Right clicking on the cube again. With the 3D view open again, just double checking work sets. And even applying now our view template we created earlier for loading colours. As you can see. And even using the hosted line loads, at any stage we can pick our beams or framing members. Etc. If applying the hosted point loads, which is often used for columns, as you can see, once you're picking the analytical of the column, to be able to visually see this, you'll need to make the columns transparent. That's through visual graphic overrides, down to structural columns. Just change this to be 40%, so it's a little clearer. Changing this to be shade, start to get a bit more representation. And that concludes using the area, line and point loads through the Analyze tab. And please note, these will not be visual in Navisworks. And that concludes module SU001, Loading Diagrams 2D and 3D.